You have some ID then, please?
I don't need it.
If not, we're going to put you in the vehicle. We're going to ID you. Please.
I am U.S. citizen. I don't need to carry around an ID in my home.
I think that there's a lot of fear mongering going on, I think, by the media.
The DHS, or the Department of Heckin' Sociopaths, as they're now known. They're probably most infamous for their red-headed stepchild, ICE, but make no mistake, these days they're all rusty prongs on Trump's authoritarian umbrella, and they've recently started using the Constitution as their own personal toilet roll.
A press photographer captured the scenes outside.
Where's the warrant? Where is it?
And some of these fellas spend a long time on the toilet. Obviously, public sentiment has been, shall we say, pretty unfavourable recently since Trump turned them into Walmart brand stormtroopers, but so far there hasn't been much pushback from legacy media. Until now, which is why you'll find it so refreshing to see this hapless Trump employee get mercilessly roasted by a CNN panel. If you, like me, have recently discovered a kink for something I'm calling Magenfreude, then you're gonna love this footage. Trust me, it's good. So good, I'm not even going to ask you to subscribe. We're just going to dive right into this instead.
Quote, validate their identity when asked about Americans carrying proof of citizenship. Can you clarify what exactly that means? Do American citizens, as of now, need to carry their passports or other immigration documents to show that they're citizens?
I am so glad you asked this question because I think that there's a lot of confusion there about this. We have incredibly targeted immigration enforcement operations. So what's happening there is reasonable suspicion. If somebody is in the vicinity of this operation, of this target, then they could be asked for their identification. We've been vindicated by the Supreme Court.
We've been vindicated by the Supreme Court. I mean, that's all very well and good, but these days that's kind of like saying, our actions have been approved by the Sith Lords.
Asked for their identification. We've been vindicated by the Supreme Court, September of 2025. You all saw a case out of Los Angeles where they said we can use a reasonable suspicion. I think I've seen a lot on this network and other places where they're talking about this is racially based. Absolutely not. Racial animus is no place in DHS and is, of course, not used. We're using what is protected under the Fourth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution.
Fascinating. That's a fascinating take / delusional opinion. And by opinion, I mean barefaced fucking lies. But let's face it, if you want to get hired by Trump, you have to be great at lying with zero fucking shame on your face. Let's not forget, that case that she mentioned in Los Angeles is specifically the case where the Supreme Court decision on that case means that now officers are allowed, legally, to detain people based on race. The entire lawsuit was about them using racial profiling to detain people. And with a decision on that lawsuit stayed by the Sith Lords, the Supreme Courts, the DHS are now legally allowed to go around racially profiling people. That's what they're doing. I'm not even trying to hide that. I don't know why she's pretending otherwise. So yeah, to recap, for now, pending the final outcome of that case, the Supreme Court effectively legalized racial profiling for DHS stopping people, which to most people with a brain seems to be directly against the language of the Fourth Amendment. States, arguably pretty reasonably, remember the old-timey people that wrote these things wrote them specifically in mind of trying to stop people like Trump ruining democracy. It states that there needs to be probable cause to search and detain people, and a suspicion should be very clear about who is being detained. Now, call me crazy, but some brown fella, or even some bloke outside of Home Depot, doesn't really meet my standards for specificity. I'm going to quickly show you this clip, but don't worry, we're going to get back to DHS getting roasted in just a second. Check this out.
This week, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a decision that clears the way for racial...
And by the way, you know you can trust this guy because he has an enormous pair of glasses.
This week, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a decision that clears the way for racial profiling during immigration raids and sweeps. Now we could see the Trump administration rapidly expand the racially discriminatory ICE practices that we've already seen terrorizing families, workplaces, and communities around the country. Thanks to the Supreme Court, these raids are now more likely to sweep in U.S. citizens and people with lawful status. So what was the decision and
this video is aged so well, or poorly depending on how you view it, but
what did it say? Well, in a 6-3 vote in the case known as Vasquez-Perdomo v. Nome, the Supreme Court granted an emergency request from the Trump administration to temporarily halt a Los Angeles judge's order limiting the use of so-called roving patrols. These patrols had been snatching people off of California streets and questioning them based on how they look, what language they speak, what work they do, or even where they happen to be.
Now, that wouldn't be racial animus, would it? Now, it's actually clever that she used the word animus because she basically used a word that none of her base will understand, which makes it helpful to lie to them easier.
Both the Los Angeles Federal Court and the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals had ruled that these actions amounted to illegal racial profiling. But on Monday, the Supreme Court issued a brief, unsigned order that overturned those decisions. For now, this gives immigration agents a green light to once again stop anyone that they guess to be here illegally, even if a central reason for the stop was race.
Huh. That's funny because she said no racial animus. I don't know who to believe, the professional career liar Trump jockey or this guy with enormous glasses who does this for a fucking living. He's an immigration lawyer. Anyway, the point is that she's lying through her fucking teeth. Sorry, I mean veneers. It's a Trump person after all. Obviously, she's lying, but luckily, this time they don't let her get away with it. Check this out.
All right, let's dive a little bit deeper into that.
Absolutely.
I want to play this video of a recent incident in Minnesota that has received attention.
Do you have an ID on you, ma'am?
I don't need an ID to walk around in my city. This is my city.
Okay, do you have
This is
some
my
ID
home.
then, please?
I don't need an
If
ID.
not, we're going to put you in the vehicle and we're going to ID you, please.
I am U.S. citizen. I don't need to carry around an ID in my home.
Well,
This is
where
my
were you,
home.
Where were you born?
This is my home.
Where were you born?
Minneapolis is my home.
Now I wonder, what possible reason could they have for detaining that woman and demanding to know where she's from, that woman who happens to have a lovely accent?
The video was filmed by a woman who, as you heard, said she is a U.S. citizen. Why exactly was she stopped? Was there reasonable suspicion, which is a legal bar, as you noted, that a crime was committed in that situation? And why was he asking her, where are you born? Like, what was he basing that on?
Sure. So either this is, and I haven't seen this video before, so there could
Why haven't you seen this video? What do you do at your desk all fucking day? Watch cat videos on TikTok. Why the fuck haven't you seen this video? If you're a PR person for this agency, you should be looking at all the viral videos. You should know, you should have seen this video and you should know. Maybe even on a personal level, you should give a fuck about your officer's fucking conduct.
could be two circumstances here. Either this is a targeted operation and she's around the vicinity of it, around the target. There's reasonable suspicion because there might be a descriptor, or she could be 5'6" and they're looking for somebody who's 5'6". That could be part of it. They're looking for somebody. That could be part of it. The other piece of it is it could be, I don't know if she was obstructing law enforcement, if she was assaulting law enforcement prior to this, but
If she was assaulting law enforcement, if she so much had sneezed at them, she would be bleeding out on the ground right now. The fact that they're sat there with their penguin arms to the side means obviously she hasn't done shit.
they either had those Title VIII authorities under the U.S. Code 1357 or they had that reasonable suspicion.
But what do you say to those who watch that and other videos that they're seeing themselves? I mean, this is not just the mainstream media. This is, people are seeing these videos and they're concerned that a place like Minnesota is turning into a police state, and they're going up to U.S. citizens asking for ID and you know, using
I think that
God, I hate her fucking face. She's like, oh, you think Minnesota's a police state? Oh, I've not heard this theory before. Why would that be? Is it because we've directed our agents to go around battering the shit out of people completely lawlessly? Why would that be?
there's a lot of fear mongering going on, I think, by the media.
But it's not, hold on, let me just correct you right there. Let me just, they're watching these videos and using their independence of mind. It's not the media.
No,
actually, smiles. Like, we're talking about people getting rounded up. U.S. citizens who've done nothing wrong. I mean, not that any of this is okay, but, you know, even the average MAGA fan, you know, struggles defending U.S. citizens being rounded up without any reason. And she's like, her fucking face when this lady grills her, it's like she didn't expect to get grilled. Yeah, this is your fucking job, by the way.
Going on, I think, by the media.
But it's not, hold on, let me just correct you right there. Let me just, they're watching these videos and using their independence of mind. It's not the media.
No, actually it is the media, and we're seeing it time and time again by saying things like the police state. What we're seeing is rampant violence against our law enforcement, highly coordinated. We have our legal authorities. When individuals see videos like that, you have to ask the question, was this individual obstructing law enforcement, which is a federal crime? Were they assaulting law enforcement, which is a felony? Were any of those instances occurring before this video was cut? Because you saw a very short cut, and that's what I'm talking about, the media. There is
For anyone with more than 2 brain cells, the context of that video is very clear. Like I said, if she'd done anything at all, if she'd even, like, you know, winked at them, she probably would be breathing at her last breath right now. The gaslighting is so extreme. This is the problem with Trump people, because it's like a thing. Don't argue with an idiot because they bring you down to their level, shit on the floor, and then beat you with the shit. It's something like that. But the point is, Like, this is all completely pointless to argue about because they literally, her organization went to the Supreme Court crying and said, please let us racially profile people, daddy, please. And the Supreme Court was like, you may. The fact that she's now coming on TV to lie about reality, to lie about the law, which they specifically went to the Supreme Court for, is just, it's just disturbing. They have so little respect for the American people. It's crazy.
Not a lot of context that's being out
there.
Then
why
have to
don't
be
you allow
very
ICE officers to wear the cameras?
We of course allow them to wear. They often
they all have. Well, they all have body
we
cameras.
We are working
so you
on
can
that with the one big beautiful bill. Actually, I think we can talk about the incident from last week where that law enforcement officer.
News, though.
If I can finish,
yeah.
That law enforcement officer, he actually filmed himself being obstructed by these individuals who are on the ground who are harassing him. This vehicle being blocked in, and that actually largely vindicated him. And actually, everything that
citation needed.
DHS has said up until that point was corroborated.
Well, I mean, it hasn't been corroborated. The investigation is ongoing. The secretary...
Right. Like, these people are so fucking dumb. They can't help but be like, oh, we investigated and it's been corroborated, all clear. It's like, normally you at least pretend to have an investigation for a few months and dig into the facts. You're being like, oh, there was a video release, so yeah, he's fine. He was holding a video camera in one hand and shooting with the other hand. Like Rocky, like the Terminator movies. It's fun.
Harry came out shortly after and said that the victim here, Renee Good, was a domestic terrorist.
Yes.
And we've spoken to many experts who said at the very least, we don't have enough facts, there's not enough information, and it's too early in the investigation to make that claim. And, just going back to what you say about the media, we were talking to people on the ground. And look, maybe some of them don't like ICE, they don't like law enforcement at all, so they could be saying this.
Yeah.
But you have to look at the polling, right? This isn't the media, this is actual polling that says, hey, I like what ICE is doing in terms of its target. We want to get criminals off the street who don't belong in the country. But 51% say ICE makes cities less safe. Just 31% say it makes cities more safe. On the Renee Good case you brought up, 26% of Americans viewed the shooting as an appropriate use of force, while 56%...
For context, if you're watching outside of America, plenty of Americans think that, if an officer even got the slightest bit of a boo-boo, or if there was the threat of a boo-boo, he can fucking blow him away. Yeehaw! Like, a lot of people here believe that. Not everyone, but too many. Like, the attitude towards police violence in America is scary. It's very much propagandized. So the fact that Americans who are normally like, yeehaw, clean kill, are like, that was a bit dodgy, is worrying. It says a lot.
Called it an inappropriate use of force. So are you willing to consider, in some cases, ICE has gone too far and is losing American support?
Pamela, in the last 5 weeks, we have arrested 2,500 criminal illegal aliens off of the streets of Minneapolis. If I can make my point, I appreciate your having me, but I do want to be able to make my point.
Sure.
Or how about you answer the fucking question? Because that wasn't the question.
The point of the matter is, I have not seen CNN cover who some of those individuals are. An individual from Ecuador, he murdered his 3-month-old son.
Right. Okay. But maybe if you're appealing to emotions, then you're a disingenuous fucking idiot. Because what if the question was, okay, people are upset about the fact you dropped a nuke on Minneapolis to wipe out illegals, and she's like, well, if you think about the facts for a second, when we dropped that nuke, who did we kill? A guy who stole a Hershey from a Toys R Us, a man who winked annoyingly at a security guard. Like, shut the fuck up.
Individual who's perpetuating human slavery and human trafficking, scores and scores of murders, child pedophiles. Why does the media not talk about that?
I'm not stopping this a lot, but she's enraging me. And it says a lot that a Republican has to say child PDF files. Like, what else is a PDF file other than somebody that, what? The fact that that's not how they think. That's like part of the logic where, whoever that ghoul was defending Trump, or no, defending Epstein, being like, well, he liked the barely legal type, barely 12. Crazy.
We continue to see that people love to demonize law enforcement, vilify them as they're facing a 1,000% increase in assaults against them. And yet we're not talking about the great work that they're doing on the ground. The fact that
the people are so against our Wehrmacht soldiers. They hate the SS as they march through the streets and keep them safe.
they are risking their lives day in and day out to get these criminals off the ground. Gang members, known as suspected terrorists, these are all the people that we've arrested in Minneapolis. And DHS and Secretary Noem, President Trump, have done a phenomenal job of trying to give people transparency on who we are arresting. And yet we're standing here talking about...
again, we know that she's lying out of her teeth, but they've literally set up a brand new, unprecedented program where they fly people around the country repeatedly from place to place so their lawyers cannot keep track of them, which is beyond dystopian and authoritarian. It is reckless, just fascism. That's what it is. Let's just call it what it is.
Relitigating cases over and over and over.
Well, a U.S.
again.
citizen was killed by an ICE officer.
Yes,
That's fair. I talked about the polls. It's a fair question to say, are you losing American support? But Wolf, I want to let you
please.
No one supports.
Jesus Christ! When Trump sends his psychopaths, he sends his best. Truly, he sends his best. You know what's really crazy is that there's so many articles about how this is the deadliest year for ICE, not officers, detainees, that's right, in 20 years, 20 fucking years, the deadliest year. What could that possibly mean? But there's zero articles I can find about how it's such a deadly time to be an ICE officer. Weird that. Such a weird correlation. In fact, a few of Trump's people have been out there saying stuff like, oh, violence against ICE officers has gone up by so many imaginary numbers, 2,000%, 3,000%, 20 bajillion%. But the point is, it's not fucking true. It's that the party asked you to ignore the evidence of your eyes and ears shit again, because we can see it in video, we can see what's happening out there. People are living through it. It's like we don't live in 1920s where they could, put a newspaper out there and be like, boy there, all clear. A slight scuffle in Minneapolis, but weather's good today. Like, we can see what's happening in real time around the world. Anyway, credit to that anchor for actually speaking up, for actually challenging her on points, for making her flustered, for forcing her to just lie openly. It's too often we see hardly any pushback. She was at least being made to defend her batshit insane lies. It's a tragedy, but this government has told us and showed us time and time again they have no interest in policing themselves. They've got no interest in doing the right thing, so we have to keep an eye on them. We'll keep bringing you the news as it happens, so make sure you subscribe. I'm British Chris, and this is Raw America.